All these are part of ear training, and it's a very valuable thing as a musician. We always want to focus on this and our feet and our hands, and that's great. That's your biggest asset. I'm judicious about protecting my ears and my hearing. Welcome back to the Drum Show podcast. We got a really cool discussion today, and it pertains to an email. I'm not going to read you the entire email, and it was from a student of mine named Autumn, and we were discussing training our ears to be able to hear what the parts are being played, and then how sheet music can hold us back from that sometimes. So I think, let me first of all say I'm not the old guy sitting in the tree yelling that you need to stop using sheet music. I think that everything that we use in our drumming can be a tool or it can be a hindrance, and I want it to remain a tool for you. One of the things that I'm seeing, especially as, we say the internet's getting older, as the internet develops. So for instance, when I was coming up, Modern Drummer was a huge magazine, and I used to love that they would have some songs transcribed in there. Sometimes they'd include like one whole song transcription in there. If you wanted to get transcriptions, you would have to order them and get a book of them, right? Or talk to the artist and have them transcribe the part. So, or do them yourself. So, sheet music was around, but if I played like a stage show, it was more of like a form chart. Instead of telling me exactly what to play, it might have the hits in there, but it's not going to notate the drum part exactly. Now we have a lot, and when I say a lot, so much sheet music out there that specifically transcribe parts from songs. And the drums at their core is it is a improvisational musical form, right? So we started the drums in jazz and blues, and that's improvisational music forms at their core. And so what we have to do is realize that sheet music can be a help. It can also be a hindrance, and I'm seeing it be a hindrance for more and more players. One of the things is relating to kind of what Autumn was talking about, and that's ear training, being able to train our ear to hear what's going on. Used to, if you wanted the part for the song, you had to sit there with your ear to a speaker, and you just had to play it back over and over and over, and then try to write it down. Oh, that's not right. Then you write it down, you go play it, and you're like, that doesn't sound like it. You go back. So the process of transcribing a song could take days, weeks sometimes. But that was the process. And what's beautiful about this process is while you're learning the song in this way, you're also listening to the song over and over and over. So that by the time you play it, you not only understand what the notes are, you understand the feel, you understand the context. Like there's so much that you understand from that because you spent time studying the song. And what also has happened is your ear has gotten incredibly good through that process. Now, fast forward today, you can just grab the sheet music for anything. And I might say a lot of the sheet music online is not correct. And so I would caution you to make sure you're getting a good transcription of something, but we can read it like a book, right? And that's a good thing. You can get the information, but reading a book, so let's say we get a science textbook. Reading the science textbook is much different than memorizing that information, and not only memorizing it, being like, okay, let's go do some experiments. Let's go figure out how this science works. My daughter yesterday did one where she had done in school where they poked a hole through the bag and the water didn't come out because it didn't matter, whatever. And we did another one the other day. I had left a water bottle on the deck and it got super cold, and I brought it in and I said, you see this water? She said, yeah. I said, it's liquid, right? She said, yeah. I said, okay, I want you to take it and shake it. And as soon as she shook it up, it turned to ice because the molecules started going and they froze. This was a very real sign. That's different than reading, in a science book. If water is in a constant state or whatever, and then you move it, that energy in the creation, it's going to make it freeze, or whatever that law is, whatever that rule is, right? That's different than being like, do you see this water bottle? Do you see the water's not frozen? Shake it, and then it freezes, and you're like, oh my God, it's a black magic, right? You learn it on a different level. So, sheet music. She and I were having a discussion. She's saying, I find it's much easier to know what they're doing if I just go read the sheet music. Sure, and this is a good thing. That's okay. But I would love for you to get away from sheet music and be able, this isn't just directed at one person, this is directed at just everyone. You, by a general you, myself included. It's very tempting for me to just go get the sheet music because I can sight read it, right? Whereas it's better if I can just sit there and struggle with it a little bit. And so what would be a good thing for you to do, because we're talking about ear training, we're talking about training our ears and making our ears better. And to do that, we just have to have repetitions. We have to kind of like put the time in over and over and over. Okay, I got this. Like, you really do have to put that time into that. And if you don't put that time into that, you're going to have a tough time because you're not developing your ear. Ear training is something that you do when you go to get a music degree. They have you do it every day. And so it's something we as musicians should be doing every day. And you know, she was referring to, it's very ambiguous. It can be ambiguous, but in its essence, it's very simple. Here's a very good ear training exercise for you to do. This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my, or actually my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. And I have been committed to teaching for 22 plus years now. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps here in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out, blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. I'd love to have you be a part of it. Turn on a song that you like. Listen only for the bass guitar part. Or let's start with something easier. Listen to the snare part. Okay, I got it. I'm listening to the snare part. Have an 8 measure phrase. Listen to that snare drum. Try to memorize what the snare drum's doing. Now, try to play it back and sing the snare drum. You're like, what am I singing? You know, back, back, that, back, back, that, back, that, back, back. This, I'm serious. It sounds dumb when I'm doing it by myself. But what you're doing is you're training your ear, and by going with the loudest voice, it's very easy. Then you can go to the ride cymbal. What's the ride cymbal or hi-hat doing? Maybe try to sing that part. If it's just straight 8, sing it the whole time. Then go to the bass drum. What's the bass drum doing? Oftentimes we're trying to hear the drum set as a whole, but it's all different drums and cymbals, right? Try to hear them as separates and then bring them together. Then go to the vocals. What are the vocals doing? That's the easiest thing we do. We always memorize what the vocals are doing. Try to memorize the notes without the words. That's a different thing, right? Then you're doing pitches. Go to the bass guitar. Try to hum what the bass guitar is doing. Try to hit those pitches. Try to find it on piano. Oh, is this the note? Oh, and then it goes here. And you don't have to know how to play piano. Just use your ear. That's the note they're playing. Then it goes here. All these are part of ear training, and it's a very valuable thing as a musician. We always want to focus on this and our feet and our hands, and that's great. That's your biggest asset. Right? I'm judicious about protecting my ears and my hearing because they're so important to me. And there are, it's been multiple times where Kelly and I have been in a room and there's a pitch that all of a sudden I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here. She's like, what? I'm like, something's annoying me. She's like, I can't even hear it. I'm like, that's okay. I gotta get out of here. It's a very sensitive instrument. I've spent a lot of time trying to hone that side of it. And so if you find yourself stuck and only be able to play songs whenever you can read the sheet music, that's fine. But let's start to use it in a more educational form. Now, a way that you can use the sheet music to help your ears is to sit down and instead of reading it, listen to the music and read the sheet music as if it were a book and go, I'm only going to read the bass drum. Let me see if I can hear that bass drum. Then close your eyes after you've done that a couple times and go, okay, I'm hearing the bass drum better now. Oh, I can't hear it in this part. listen to it until you can hear it, until you can decipher it. So use the sheet music as a learning tool, but don't use it as a crutch. It becomes, and what I'm seeing, and I've talked about this before on the podcast too, playing a song is one skill. Reading the sheet music is another skill. You can read it like a book. You don't have to play it. Playing and reading the sheet music at the same time, sight reading, that's a whole other skill. And I took like 5 years in college to learn how to do that well, right? It's a skill, but it's different than just reading the sheet music, and it's different than just playing the drums. 3 different skills. So it's okay that you're bad at it. And what happens is our processing, we can't process in real time what's going on because we're multitasking. And so what happens is we wind up lagging and the pocket falls down. It doesn't feel as good, those kinds of things. So I want you to use sheet music as a tool, not as a crutch. Work on your ears today. Start today. Listen. We should be listening to 20 times the music we're listening to every day. Listen. Use found times when you're working out, or whenever you're sitting there in a car driving, or maybe on your commute to work, or whenever you've got your lunch break. Maybe that's your critical listening. You eat your lunch and you put some music on and you just sit there listening, eating and listening, like you're absorbing sounds. That's what I want you to do, is to train your ear. Don't just train your hands. Don't just train your feet. Train your ear. I promise you, it'll pay off huge. Now, if you're struggling in your drumming, I'm happy to help you out. You can go to stevensdrumshed.com. That's Steven with a PH. And I've got a program on there, the Drum Better Daily program. It's been around for 14 years now, since 2011. I've put tens of thousands of people through this online drum program. I'd love you have you be a part of it. But whatever you do, go play the drums today and go listen to some music. Try to get those ears better.